Let's go.
Hey everyone, and welcome back or welcome to my channel. This video is the final part of my trilogy of why I'm worried about certain K-pop groups, with Classy being the final group for now. Once again, this video concept was inspired by Jihoon's Carrot, so make sure to check them out. As for why Classy, I wasn't really sure how well loved they were internationally, considering the whole having so much minors in the group issue being so controversial. I mean, I'll elaborate my thoughts during that section, but as for why I don't stand them, despite having watched their survival show, the main reason is because none of my faves made it to the final lineup, and so I gave them a chance, but it wasn't one of those things where I was going to stay attached to them. But yeah, they're barely 1.5 years into their career, and there's so much weird things and issues that I could talk about, which is kind of not the best indicator for their future. So the plan will be basically the same as my Purple Kiss and Cherry Bullet video, in that I'll talk relatively chronologically about the issues that they're facing. But yeah, before I start, I'd appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to my channel. Without further ado, let's start off with the first factor. Starting off, the debut lineup saw a bit of controversy that slightly altered the initial pre-debut hype for them in different ways. One of them being that one of the main faces of the show didn't make the lineup. Triple S's Yuyeon garnered a lot of attention for her visuals during the show, despite her lack of talent. She would rank high throughout the show and would kinda show slight improvements, but that would fall short during finale, as she barely made it in 8th place. Having such an impact on the show, yet still not making it into the final lineup, left some viewers losing interest in the group. Survival shows are rarely solo stand coded, in that most of the time you can vote for only one person, and so your loyalty to the group is influenced a lot solely based on whether your fave makes the group, or weaken their loyalty to standing the group. Another reason would be the lack of third graders in the debut lineup, despite being presented as the early frontrunners with so much aces and potential. This made no sense when you follow the logic of having the talent should relatively equate to success for at least one third grader. However, this wasn't the case, and so viewers were left angered by the wasted time and effort that third graders had to go through, only to not be selected at all. It just left an overall sour taste to the finale and thus the group. I do want to note that there were benefits included in the final score, which could be considered a factor of changing the lineup. However, excluding the benefit into the scores, then there would have only been one switch up, which I thought wouldn't have been too impactful considering it's just one person, but that one person pushed out was the face of the show, Yuyeon. So I guess it could have changed the dynamics and trajectory of Classy's future. But yeah, the final reason for a mixed reception from the finale announcement of Classy is the most discussed, and also is a major reason for a lot of international listeners not standing the group, which is having minors in the group. Knowing that they have minors in Classy is something that listeners wouldn't be able to feign ignorance on, as there is currently 4 minors in the group out of 7 of the total members. I mean, they debuted with 1 13-year-old and 3 14-year-olds. I want to say it's pretty self-explanatory regarding the ethical issues relating to debuting minors. I mean, we have long working hours, lack of education or managing the time to do education while being an idol, exploitative contracts which might be hitting too close to home considering their parent company is fighting with a trainee because of weird contract things, emotional and psychological stress, lack of privacy from over-analyzing and hyperfixation on idols from the fans, risk of exploitation or sexualization, health and well-being from said working hours, which might not look the best for Classy when I do talk about their promotions next, and just many more other factors. It really isn't just the glitz and glamour for K-pop idols, which is why adding the factor of being a minor means they could really get messed up if not catered properly. I mean, during their appearance in Point of Omniscience, in which they shared a glimpse into their lives, it showed their manager, CEO, and former Dia member discussing their strict diet, which already makes no sense. Obviously, I'm not gonna act like she isn't doing anything, because she does cater by cooking their meals, and she's actually actually helping them out through her relative experience during her dire days. However, to the point where they gotta make some of the members take kid multivitamins and even have one of them drink powdered milk to grow. But yeah, in spite of this, it's not gonna be an issue that completely regresses the group. I mean, from New Jeans having so much success despite having Haein, or even the success of IVE with Esau, what I've seen from this talk about minors debuting in K-pop groups is that yes, it can be a factor that pushes you away from a group, but not completely. Other factors can pull these same listeners back in, and so the actual number of listeners who will completely and properly boycott groups with minors in them are actually pretty minimal. To me, CLASS:y's promotion has been a bit sporadic and slightly chaotic in terms of sequencing. I mean, starting off with no pre-debut content to introduce the group as the 7 members, like, I get it, we technically experienced their journey through their survival show, but the only thing is that being a viewer doesn't always translate to instant fans or loyal fans. But yeah, once they did debut, they decided to split this debut through too many albums less than 1 month apart. Which in hindsight, it really could have been split into one debut and a comeback spaced a bit more decently to give each era their own shot. Then, a few weeks after the second part of their debut, we would get a Japanese debut, which once again, why are they pumping out music without intention? It's one of those things where overall, it is greatly appreciated that they're considering other markets and actually do things that some companies won't even consider or take many years to actually consider, but this was only 1 month into CLASS:y's official debut, so they were rushing for some random reason. This would then be followed up by another Korean comeback 4 months later, where they would promote both songs, then another Japanese release 5 months after that. Definitely one of those things where it's appreciated to see so much attention being placed on them, but also usually comebacks take time to prepare to ensure the quality of each era. And so to see the frequency and small windows of gaps between each releases, it just makes me think about whether they could potentially be overworked. We also have solo promotions, which the company seems to be pushing Bowen, which is advantageous considering any opportunities for a kinda-ish smaller company to bring attention to their group can make a difference. But then also, it overshadows the rewards and benefits that Jimin could be reaping for coming in first. I mean, obviously, Jimin doesn't have to get everything in terms of solo promotions, but there is a presumption of having a decent sized fan base that helped Jimin get her ranking, and so to see her yet have any solo promotions, it's just a slight side eye. But they're still so fresh into their career, so I might just be exaggerating this as an issue. But yeah, my reasoning and interpretation of the way I've kind of seen all this is definitely influenced by the next factor. This is the main issue that kinda has halted a lot of the progress that CLASS:y has made. I mean, from just their first year alone, they've had 3 Korean mini albums consisting of 4 MVs, 5 singles they've done promotions on in music shows, and they've had 2 Japanese releases with accompanying music videos. So it's really interesting to hit all of that within the first year, just to kinda go silent after that. I mean, do note, it's not a complete shut off like MIA type of thing, because they're still kind of performing at some events and kind of being active on socials, but it's not one of those things where the content is promoted to target a newer audience compared to giving clickies more content. Then the most baffling part of this hiatus is the fact that the company responded to fans' concerns about CLASS:y's silence by saying that it is difficult to comment on the situation regarding CLASS:y. Like, what? Did they just forget who was making all the decisions for CLASS:y? Because what kind of response was that? That doesn't clear anything up, and it kind of just makes M25's incompetence look more clear. A lot of them are still so young with so much potential, and so to see them mismanaged and underutilized when they could be debuting somewhere else with potentially more certainty within their activities. I know I did mention the whole overworking within the first year, so maybe they thought it would be better for them to take a well-needed rest, but that wasn't the clarification that M25 gave us. Plus, the whole drastic switch from too much to barely anything. Like, I swear people always forget there's a happy middle that can easily not exhaust all resources, but not let the group fade into obscurity. I mean, the main thing for this hiatus is that obviously it's not decided by the groups, and so the next factor will be the mastermind behind Classy's management.
Tick, 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 boom.
The agency has been real shady. Classy is managed by M25, which might not be too well known at first glance, but then when you look a bit into M25, then you'll see that they're a subsidiary under Pocket Doll Studio. Also, this might not ring a bell on initial glance too, but then when you do the research again, then a little company named MBK, and now things will start to click. Yes, the same MBK that questionably dealt with the whole Tiara situation. The same one who mismanaged Daya like holy moly. And now they're doing questionable things with Bay 173, considering Nam Do-hyun won his lawsuit to suspend his contract. But yeah, Pocket Doll Studios was formed by MBK and Interpark, and have also been the company that all the remaining MBK artists transferred to after MBK closed down. So Pocket Doll is essentially a rebranded MBK 2.0, which if you look into the history of MBK and their management, then you'll understand why being worried for Classy might make sense. There's already a video by Cheney Lisu who tackled this topic quite well, and so definitely check that video out if you want to hear more about MBK's history. All this to say, Classy is not really in the best hands, and with the male equivalent of Fantasy Boys having recently finished airing, debuting in the main company of Pocket Doll Studios instead of a subsidiary like Classy, and then also outperforming Ish during their debut despite having less viewership during the survival show, prioritization might be another added issue that Classy will have to deal with. And this is just about company attention. This doesn't even consider the final factor, which is competing for fans and audiences.
'Cause we are Zillas.
This section is similar and basically a rehash of what I discussed in the Purple Kiss video, but an extra amount of unfortunate, as Classy debuted at a worse time compared to Purple Kiss. Despite having a bit of pre-debut hype from being formed through a survival show, the impact of the show wasn't quite like Girls Planet or having company association like the big three. These were the main factors that allowed Kep1er, Got the Beat, LE SSERAFIM, NMIXX, and NewJeans to debut a few months apart from Classy, but reach crazy success on debut. I mean, despite this though, I want to say Classy still did well in carving their own lane. Heavy emphasis on their own lane, because I still wouldn't say they're in the same boat as like a Kep1er, but they give off the same vibe of groups who have done relatively well, but because of how accelerated some of the girl groups have performed, they kind of look meh in comparison in the eyes of some. But now they're on this random hiatus, which depending on how long it lasts, all this momentum built up for themselves will start to fade, and it'll be a true one step forward from their first year of promotions and 2 or more steps back the longer that they stay without having a comeback and promotions. Final thoughts. I always try to put a positive spin on the future of these groups, but I literally can't find that glimmer of hope for Classy. Like, I was gonna talk about the fact that they had a strong enough fan base to win SBS's Dancing Doll Stage 2, but then also I'm thinking about how that aired late last year and things have changed a lot by now. I mean, there's definitely not a need to always compare groups, and I feel like as long as Classy can get out of their hiatus, go back to normal promotions, and continue to elevate themselves in comparison to only themselves, then they'll be fine. Sometimes people can have a fulfilling career with their niche audience. Cultivating a decent sized fan base to cyclically come back from the success of their comeback, now that's the goal. But yeah, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts on Classy, their career so far, and what you think their future might look like, considering Classy isn't supposed to be temporary despite being from a survival show. They signed on for 7 years, so unless M25 wants to cut it short for some reason, they've got until 2029. But yeah, as for my next video, I still plan to do weekly and lightsome depending on how well their comeback do, And so it'll kind of take a bit of time just to see the actual impacts of their comeback. So I'll be moving on to something else, which at the moment, I did receive some comments in support about that Bandit video, which is definitely on my list of videos to do. I've also wanted to tackle something about K-pop controversies, but I'm not sure what direction I'm trying to take that in. And then also, I want to properly tackle the produce curse. But yeah, if you're interested in any of these video ideas that I've mentioned, then please like and subscribe to keep up to date, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Oh, yeah.